watching Inside the Gilliverse, talking all things Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul. Brought to you by Stewart Travel Guitars. See the incredible stowaway travel guitar at stewartguitars.com. Also brought to you by Idea Bench, makers of hot rod-inspired pedal boards and pedal board accessories at ideabench.com. Microphones for Inside the Gilliverse are brought to you by Rode Microphones. Now please welcome your hosts, Tom Schnauz and Eric Broadbent.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Inside the Gilliverse. My name is Eric Broadbent. We'll be talking all things Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul. It comes with great pleasure, as always. It doesn't need any introduction, but we're going to give him one anyways. Our co-host, Mr. Tom Schnauz, writer, director, and producer for Breaking Bad, and obviously Better Call Saul as well, too, and 2020 Emmy Award nominee. My friend, episode 4, nice to have you back. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I should say hi to my mom, who watches every week.
Is she watching?
Back in New Jersey.
Great.
So hi, Mom. And tonight, another great guest, one of my favorite people. Jonathan Banks has a nickname for me on the set, which is the Little Prince. Betsy came up with a beautiful name for me, which I much prefer. She calls me Sunshine Tom. The lovely Miss Betsy Brandt. Welcome, Betsy.
Hi, guys. Hi, Sunshine. Hi, Eric.
Nice to have you back. Well, I'm not back, but back since yesterday. But yeah, it's great to have you here.
Yeah. Great to be here. Does everybody know that's me playing the guitar in the opening music?
Yeah, well, it's on the end credits. It's you're listed there.
Yeah, because I want my shout out.
Well, wearing a Van Halen shirt, I would expect you to be a guitar player.
I know, right? I told you I was going to. This is so old. I mean, it was old when I bought it. I got it vintage, some job in Canada at a vintage shop, and I was like, oh my God.
That's cool. I'm glad you wore it. Did it take you a while to find it? Because I know yesterday you said you had to.
I knew exactly where it was. Good. I know it's important. It's like we live in LA. Like there's always something in your mind. You're like, what would I grab in case of a fire? If the fire's getting close, and I had half an hour. Not many T-shirts. This would probably be one of them.
Well, I
really like this band, so I feel like I kind of grew up. Like, and when I started running, I would run to Van Halen, and yeah, it's all, come on, they're great.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know, because years ago, not even that long ago, but a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, this was completely all a Van Halen themed show. And of course, there's only so many people that love Van Halen in the world, lots of them, but we thought we'd start, throwing some spaghetti on the walls, we say here in Canada, and see what sticks. And we started doing some, showbiz talk, and here we are. Tom's here now, part of it, and it couldn't be a more fun thing to do on a Friday night.
How did you guys hook up? I'm pointing at the two of you.
I'll let you tell the story,
That's
Tom.
What's happening right now.
Tom will tell you the story. I twisted his arm, but he'll tell you the story.
Oh, I love
it. It was a glory hole in 7-Eleven somewhere on Route 66.
I told you not to say that version.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom.
My God, no, I feel like I need to clean up my mouth because, I love your mom and your mom's listening. I don't want her to think less of me, or would she think more of me?
She would think more of you.
Probably.
I feel like she would.
Herself. She knows you. Eric just reached out to me on Twitter and said, would you interview as part of his show? And I did. And then several weeks later, he asked me, do I want to co-host an Inside the Gilliverse? And here we are. It happened that simply.
Yeah.
I asked my wife, do you think I should do it? And she said, go have fun.
Good.
Oh, I love that. I love that you do, because out of all the people that we know, you're one of the people that has known Vince the longest.
I have been inside the Gilliverse a long time.
That sounds dirty.
It was meant that way.
I knew it. I love how close you are.
Okay. You've been in the Gilliverse a very long time. How would you describe? What does it smell like to you inside the Gilliverse?
Oh, good one, Tom.
And there is a right answer to that. I asked Vince what the answer is, and I want to see if anybody gets it.
Oh my God, what's that? I think it's a complex smell, but there's a little bit of rosemary in there.
Okay.
I didn't see it was comfortable.
It could be. Well, there's no wrong answer, actually.
There is a wrong answer?
There's no wrong answer.
Oh, there's no wrong answer.
Yeah, so I'll take rosemary. But the correct answer is a combination of bacon and fear is the smell.
Okay, now you got me a bacon because Canada, that's we're born with bacon and with our birth certificates. Matter of fact, our birth certificates are made out of bacon. But I never thought about the fear. I would have said cocobolo would. But see, I'm wrong as well too. So there we go.
Santo, bacon is a gateway meat. When we started Breaking Bad, I didn't eat meat. And then now I'm back on. I'm strong. I'm stronger than ever.
Is that because of Dean Norris? Whose fault is that?
Grue Steakhouse. I went and ordered, and I was like, I haven't had like a piece of red meat in I don't know how many years, and like 12 years probably at that point. And although I would eat bacon when I was pregnant, which is why I call bacon the gateway meat. And I like all but when I ate that steak, I was like, all but licked my plate that night. It was so, I felt so dumb that I didn't eat it for so long. To each his own. Like everybody's got to do what they got to do, but I missed it the entire time I didn't eat it. There is one person on our show who eats meat, but not any sort of pig, and doesn't eat. And I made a quiche for them like a year or so ago. And I was like, I'm not going to put bacon in it because I think they don't eat. And you know why? Because this person told me that pigs cry human tears.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough.
It makes it even more delicious to me.
There you go.
I worked with a pig, and then I didn't eat bacon for a month. This was like 2 years ago. But his name was Pig Newton, and I kind of fell in love with him. I was like, this is the coolest dog ever. The coolest dog ever. I mean, he weighs like 200 pounds, but he is the coolest dog ever.
And how did Pig Newton taste later?
No, I would never. I can't. I have to believe he didn't even know that bacon. I have to believe they weren't neighbors. They didn't live by each other. There was no connection. I have to believe that so I can sleep at night.
It's hard when you get attached.
We covered bacon. Now what? Money?
Yeah. Well, it's hard when you get attached to animals or with food that's meat. On a farm growing up, we had chickens and goats and ducks and all that kind of stuff. And I was little, and I'd see the chickens running around, and I got to be friends with them. There's Harriet, there's so and so, there's Rooster Bob, whatever, blah blah blah. And then it would come time for dinner.
Like it's a one-way relationship. Your friendship with the chickens.
Yep. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's one way.
Can I hear a little more about that?
Well, there's nothing to the friendship, only the fact that when it come dinner time, I would refuse to eat because
you named them all. You named them.
That's fictitious. I had no idea what they're called, and I couldn't even tell the difference between them. But what my mom would do, because I would refuse to eat the chickens, is she would save a wrapper from a grocery store, like the styrofoam wrapper, and have the cellophane over top of it, and she'd say, "Look, it's chicken from the store." And then I got smart out when I turned about 12, 13 years old. I'm looking, I was like, "Mom, that expired 4 years ago." And she was just trying to get me to eat, right? But here's some questions coming in already. We got some great fan questions. First one for Betsy already. From Pinterest Fail
Yes.
Mom, one of our regulars. She says, "Did you have a favorite scene that you shot for Breaking Bad?" That's a good one.
That's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one. Isn't it great? It's a tough question. I have to say, and I've said this before, this was before you were on the show, Tom, so that makes me a little sad. But season 1, it was a really huge, it was just momentous for me when we did the
pillow scene?
Oh, yeah. And I wish you would have been there that day. It was just, I felt like we all kind of got what that show could be. But then it even exceeded our expectations. But like the crew got so excited, and it was a really phenomenal day. One of the best days I've ever had. But God, there's so many. God, there's a lot of that. There was. It's a tough question. It's a tough question. But I'm going to go with that for 400.
Well, that sounds good. And just like yesterday, you're saying to me as well too. You're going over some of the movies that you've done. And you're like, oh, I forgot I was in that one. And that's a good problem to have. That
makes me sound.
No, but seriously. No.
It's the drinking.
There you go.
Who is in that?
Following up with more, here's another one from, let me see.
Silent movie?
Yeah, silent movie. They're coming in fast and furious. From Karina. she said, and I didn't even know about this, so that I don't ever profess to be the most knowing all fan of all shows. But she says, have you still not watched Hank's death scene? And I didn't know that you hadn't watched it.
Mostly true. We were doing a panel and they played it and I didn't know, and I was like, oh my God! Why? What happened? But I just, even when he gets shot in season 3,
mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, no. And I know he's fine. Listen, I get that it's pretend. I get it. Like, I'm not like, that actor who like texts as their character and makes, I mean, I do have certain rules on set, right, Tom? Like, Cranston can't look me in the eye. Only the biggest star on the show. I come in and like bump them a little. But I get that it's pretend. I know, and Dean's healthy, and I knew that, and I knew he was, and the funny thing is Vince told me about it and didn't tell Dean that he was going to get shot.
Oh no!
So I knew. I didn't tell Dean because I was worried he would be stressed about it, but I did tell his real wife. And then, but Vince told me he was going to be fine. He was going to, need to recover and convalesce, but he would, survive. But even watching that scene, it's like, I swear to God, my blood pressure rises, and it's just not healthy for a person to be stressed out by their television. So I just...
How did Vince tell you before? That's amazing. I didn't know that.
He meant to tell me. I think he sometimes just tells me stuff, I know a lot of shit about you, Tom. But I don't even know if you remember.
I can believe it.
Well, yeah, I got to throw something in there about Tom for a quick second, because when Tom was doing all this really cool behind-the-scenes stuff over the past week, which is phenomenal, someone asked him the question about, and Betsy, I know you haven't watched a ton of Better Call Saul, or at least it's not all of it. But
not lately.
Yeah, but there's a scene actually in the very first season where he's talking to Betsy and Craig Kellerman, who we had on last week, and he's using the styrofoam tube, and he's talking like there's someone coming for you, like this, and it's supposed to be like a sex robot sound, and Kim says, you didn't do the sex robot voice, did you? And Tom says, well, it was me that came up with that idea. And on Twitter I was like, why does it not surprise me, number one, that was Tom, and number two, Tom, what did you use for the comparison for that sound? Did you have like a sex robot? You know what I mean?
Well, more than one. You have.
Yeah, I have a whole stable of sex robots.
Yeah.
Well, it was just, we talked about a voice like wax paper and comb. How was Jimmy going to disguise his voice? And we settled on the tube with the paper around the end with the rubber band. And it was just a throwaway joke line. I didn't. Yeah. It sounded funny, so I put it in. It's as simple as that.
It was cool though. Here's some more great questions coming in the chat as well, too. I'll try to keep up as fast as I can. And thanks to my beautiful Sandra Lee for funneling them to me, because I wouldn't see them without her. Mrs. Ignacio Varga asks, and this might have been something you've already answered in a way when we're talking about those difficult scenes, but she says, what was the most challenging thing you've experienced while shooting Breaking Bad? And you can exclude Tom from this. I know Tom's always difficult, but what was one of the most challenging things that you experienced while working on Breaking Bad?
The scene, the awkward guacamole scene, which was an amazing day, but I literally was having chest pains. I got chest pains and it's honestly from just looking at Cranston over and over again and asking him, telling him he should go and kill himself, I think is one of the worst things you can say to someone, and I fucking meant it when I said it. And so after doing that, and then we do it from another angle, then we do, how this goes. And then, I think I remember at the end of the day, I said, which I often would ask, did we get it? I said, did we get it? And we did. And I'm pretty sure I just like started, hugging Cranston. And I said, oh my God. And then I left the next morning at like 4 a.m. to go to New York to start working on the Michael J. Fox show, which I was ready to do. I was like, let's do a comedy. I have to, just a little time out. I have to say, I do this is my feelings about Better Call Saul. I binge it and then I have to go away because I feel like they're basically having a party and I am not invited to. It's like my entire Thanksgiving family and they're not having me.
Yeah.
They're not having me. And then sometimes I get so into it and then I realize I finally understood the Breaking Bad fans in a way I never did before. It was, I can't remember what it was, an interview for something. It was like, don't tell me what happens on that show because I can't watch it at night because I can't watch it and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Such a plus. And I haven't seen it yet. I know we were going to talk about it today. I'm really sorry, but please don't spoil it for me.
No, I promise you yesterday we wouldn't talk a lot of Saul tonight. I mean, this is all about you tonight.
So now I'm that guy. I got to tell you, my whole TV viewing has changed too over the pandemic. I don't know if you guys feel that. I'm like, can I just watch something?
Oh yeah, I hear you on that.
Butterflies and unicorns poop rainbows, like just something super, super easy. Although tonight we're watching American Vandal. We just started that last night.
Oh, I haven't seen. I heard it's really good.
Super funny, and I'm watching it with my kids.
I want to see Bill and Ted, but it's not here in Canada
yet.
Look,
it's dicks. Parents would be so proud.
I'll toss two more questions away from the fans, and then I'm going to turn it over to Tom. And one question was from Arabella, and you kind of already answered it. But I do want to acknowledge Arabella. She was saying question for Betsy. What was your reaction when you found out that Hank was going to die? So obviously, you saw you knew about getting shot, whatever. I guess you could still answer that one. When you found out he was going to die, that was probably very tough, right?
I didn't want to read that script.
Yeah.
It's 14, right? Was it 14?
Yeah, season 5B.
Yep.
I've seen the whole series of Breaking Bad over and over again, but I've probably only seen season 5B once or twice because it's too difficult.
I didn't even want to read it. I know I sound like so tough, don't I? In the whole cast, we were reading the script and we were all, emailing each other. And I said, if we don't read it, if I don't read it, does that mean it won't happen? And a big part of that is I think Hank is one of those characters, and I think this about Marie too, even though she's clearly got her stuff. I think like they're good people, and especially in our world, it was a very dark comedy, right? It's a dark comedy. In that world was just better with them in it because of their relationship with each other and just who they were. Like, a lot of times, even when Marie was just being a pain in the ass, she really believed she was doing the right thing. She's like the antithesis to Walt. And then I also I loved working with Dean so much, and I knew the whole thing was coming to an end, but it was really hard for me to let him go. But I apparently couldn't convince him to stay. Tom tried to. We couldn't.
I tried to kill him in season 3, but he wouldn't die.
We just show up, yeah.
There was another really good one here as well too, and this was from the Saul Goodman account. And by the way, we have to talk about the Saul Goodman account later on tonight as well too, because it was a contest for one of these shirts. We'll talk about that. So yeah, Saul Goodman Twitter. Fun fact: she was pregnant during season 2 of Breaking Bad. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I made a person.
Yeah.
I cooked a person. They were cooking meth. I was cooking a little boy.
Yeah. Bun in the oven. Blazy Gardner says or asked if Marie made a cameo on Better Call Saul. I mean, we've already had Hank there already in season 5.
Yeah.
How would you want it to happen?
Oh, come on! I don't do that with these guys. I don't. I like.
It would be a nice call, though, wouldn't it? It'd be a nice phone call.
You would hear stories about, I'm an actor. I've heard stories about the, actor goes into the writer's room and is like, maybe this, maybe pitching, and half the time, if I'm going to pitch a story, it's like a vacation. I would do that on Life in Pieces. I was like, how about Hawaii? How about wherever, Australia, where anything, I'm like, whatever you want to have happen there, but let's let that be the location.
I like all those pictures.
I don't do that with these guys. I would never do that with these guys. I just wouldn't go to, I would happily, in case anyone's listening, I would happily come back. The truth is, though, I just miss her. I miss playing her. And the last time I played her, I was already onto, the job at the Michael J. Fox show, which I shot in New York after Breaking Bad. And I went in and did my last looping, and I was heartbroken after I walked.
Was it for the finale? Did you loop something for the finale?
Yeah. And, I was in there alone, and I'm like, it was just, I didn't have any of my family, my TV family around. So it was really, and then I went and, made some jokes with Mike Fox after, but it was very bizarre. But it felt so good to play her. I was like, man, I loved playing that character. I'm not saying I'd want a vacation with her, but I sure did have a blast playing her.
A great character.
Did you keep any purple props? I see Eric's got the purple lights in the background.
I did that.
Oh, yeah, come on. You know I stole shit. Yes. I stole shit while we were working.
I know. You stole stuff for me. You stole a spoon for me. I still have it.
They probably had to restock the air fresheners in the car wash. I would just give them to a couple people on the crew that, if they're having a tough day, or just to brighten it up, just make it smell better. This one smells like Vince Gilligan. This one smells
Bacon and Fear.
Bacon and Fear.
Fear.
I want to turn this over to Tom right away, but there's a super chat that just came in. I want to make sure I acknowledge that, and I really apologize. I'm trying so hard to keep up with all the fan questions. From Shawshank Vichari says, what was the most memorable thing a fan of Breaking Bad has said or gifted you? So sometimes maybe these, Comic-Cons, people bring up something for you, or, has there been something that's really stood out that they've done for you or given you in your travels that's been a fan of the show?
I have a fan who is also a lovely person, and her name is Sam, and she a few months ago, 2 months tops, named her baby after me.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's not Marie, Betsy.
There's 2 Betsys now named after you.
We named Betsy Kettleman after you.
I have to say that I was so, and she's so awesome. Julie's
she's hilarious.
So awesome. I was so flattered, so flattered. Yeah, and again, they just make me miss them more. I mean, they really make it as difficult as they can to watch that show, but I can't not watch it because it's just, it was hard. It was hard to watch Banks go on our show, but now we get him in this, which is amazing. A
lot of screen time for him as well.
Yeah, and he's
too much if you ask me.
Tom, let's turn over to you for a bit. I know you've got some great notes as well too. Take it away, my friend.
Yeah, well, look, everybody. I think a lot of people are interested to know how you first got onto Breaking Bad. What was the process? Was it Bialy Thomas that had you worked with them before? How did you get on their radar?
And I met them. They were one of my first auditions when I came to LA, and it was for a play that I don't think I got. But at La Jolla Playhouse, because they were casting La Jolla. And I met Sherry, and then they, I did some other jobs with them, and they would come in. I always knew if there was something coming from their office, it would be good material. And, but for me, it was, I have to say, the first time I was in the room and met Vince, I just wanted to work with him. You can tell, it's so funny. I love what we do. And I love that, and I guess in a way, what we do is kind of, the business can be glamorous. And as you know, when you're really working in it, it's also really not glamorous. But I ultimately, it's just,
I'm a writer. I know glamour.
Yeah. Oh God. And
my world is nothing but glamorous.
You're glamour. But we're storytellers, right? And it's I just wanted to take that journey with Vince. And he also was just so lovely. And he was talking about eel fishing off in Santa Monica, off the pier in Santa Monica. And I can't remember who he was with, but he was telling me about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm there with you. I have these crawfish in my house. This is true. And I did this play with Beth Henley, and Ridiculous Fraud, this play that she wrote, and we had crawfish in the show. And at first we were, one of the actors holds a crawfish up to the light, but you can tell it's fake and it's not moving. So the props department at the theater went and got crawfish, and we had 2 crawfish. They were joking. No one would take them home. They were going to, the crew was going to eat them at the end of the run. And they were named Andrew and Willow. My character's name was Willow. I brought them home. I put them in an aquarium. I was told they were both dudes. They were not, which I realized when one mounted the other. They would fight. I would separate them. I would discipline them with a wooden spoon. And she ripped his arm off while we were away for Christmas, and I had someone like pet sitting them. It's ridiculous. And she ripped his arm off, and then she fucked him. She ripped his arm off. That's
so Hollywood.
She was pregnant, and then I had all these baby crawfish. This went on. It went on like from the time. So it just had 2. They were living together. Everyone had their appendages. And then at the end, I was getting ready to go for the premiere we did at Sony for season 1 and, or the pilot. And I saw Willow eat one of her babies. And it wasn't even a little baby. It was sizable. It'd be like, I don't know, like you eating like the smallest writer in the writer's room, Tom. It'd be like, it's not okay. Important. It's not okay. And my husband was in another room and he heard me scream so loud. He's like, I thought something happened with the baby. And I'm like, no, I just saw it. I was so disturbed. But I put on the dress and I went and did the red carpet that night and watched the show, and it was great. It all turned out good. But I kept telling, like, every time I would go in, because it takes a long time to get these jobs. Like, that point in my career, anyway, you don't go in once and then just come out and get it. And so I would go in and I kept seeing Vince. And then I kind of didn't know where he was going to, they brought me in for Marie. I kind of didn't know where he was going to put me, but then I think that was where I was meant to be. And I ended up playing Marie and wore a ton of purple and don't have any purple in my house now. Not a bit. Tom knows, he's been over. No purple.
Who wrote that?
My daughter's bedroom. She can have purple.
How many times did you have to go in, and when did you first audition with Dean?
I did an audition with Dean. We both, he and I met in the waiting room though, before we first went in there. My son's getting a phone call. His alarm's going off.
Those are important calls.
But I met Dean in the waiting room, and we were chatting about the show and like, what is this and what network is this going to be on? And then we didn't work together until the pilot. But it was just easy with him. It was easy. Felt like I'd known him forever. Yeah. But I went in a lot. It felt like a lot. I really don't remember. I think it was 3 times, maybe 2 times. And then I tested on a tape because of the networks was back in New York.
Michael Mando had a really funny story. He shared a very similar experience getting that first audition, and he got dropped off in the studio lot. And then, he figured, and being a Canadian like me, we think, okay, yeah, it's just across the street, blah, 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 and he had to go like several hundred yards, whatever, to get to the studio, and he was going to be late, just a bunch of panic and everything, right, Tom?
Yeah, very funny story that he told. We can all go back and watch it in episode 2.
That's right. Hey, here's a really good one from Paul Sura. Paul Sura is the voice of our show at the start there. And Tom, you might like this as well, too. He says, Betsy, if I offered it to you, would you be interested in a spin? Yes, it's not a margarita. It's not a margarita. Would you be interested in a spin-off starring in, again, yourself telling the story of the aftermath of the Lambert girl's life?
Wait a minute. I thought aren't I doing Keeping Up with the Kettlemans?
There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's right. You're playing
That
Betsy
is you and George Clooney. Yeah, she can only, let's not spread her too thin here.
That's
let's
right.
focus on keeping up with the gentleman.
Dean Norris, but I'll do it.
Let's get Tom. No one's voted Tom yet. I mean, Dean yet. Tom will play Dean Norris. How about that?
Okay.
Want to do that?
So, well, we're going to get Michael Chiklis for that.
No, there you go. They get confused a lot.
Listen, I love these guys so much. I'll do anything. I'll do anything. And also, Tom has a lot of dirt on me, so I feel like
a lot of dirt. There were stories I wanted to bring up, but I asked.
I was like, yeah, I don't know if that's going to be good for either of us.
I said maybe we shouldn't talk about certain things.
But we did realize really quickly that I feel like I can say anything to Tom, and so usually I do.
Within minutes of meeting her, she was whispering about somebody sticking a poop up there. I was like, oh, okay.
And then I said,
hello.
Who did I say that to? Said me. That was when I said, oh my God, I feel like I can say anything to you. That truly is a blessing and a curse.
Well,
truly a blessing and a curse. When
I asked Tom to be a co-host, I never thought about the aftermath of what that could bring. And during the show with Michael Mando, Tom makes a joke about, we're getting pretty loose pretty quick, whatever. And he says, hey, we might be naked by end of the show. And of course, Michael Mando being on the show, you should have seen up until that night, my demographics on my YouTube channel were like 100.1% male, if that's even possible. And the next day, it was like 60% male, and the female stats were just like through the roof. And it's like, thanks to Tom, right? Talking about Michael Mando getting nude.
When people hear about me getting naked, it's just the women flock.
It's so funny to hear you say Michael Mando, because I feel like everybody just calls him Mando. I hear
You should officially just drop the Michael.
I know, because you call him Mando all the time.
Share.
And he can pull it off. Like, not everybody can pull it off, but he can pull that off.
I think he could. Here's Mando.
I have no doubt. He can totally pull that off. Yeah, like Madonna, like Mando.
Well, I forgot to bring this up with his interview, but he writes songs and I play guitar, and we were going to start a band called Schmando, combining our names together.
I love it.
I'll be the backup dancers. I'll be all of them. I'll have different hats. I'll put them on. I'll be the backup dancers.
Perfect. Here's a couple other good ones coming in through the chat as well too. So Blazy Gardner's asking if Marie knows the Kettlemans. Well, you're good friends with Julianne, right?
Yeah, I'm friends with her. Yeah.
Nice. And here's a really good one. Since how you're wearing the shirt right now, Andy says, I'm really interested in the answer to this one. And just like what's the Gilliverse smell like? There's no right or wrong answer per se. What is Betsy's favorite Van Halen song or album?
Oh,
it might be easier to go with album, maybe, because the songs are great. It's like picking your favorite show. You want to try album?
Yeah, I mean, God.
I'll share mine after.
Why do you want to share yours first?
Okay, all right. No, you go first. No, you go first. Fair warning. Fair warning to me is kind of in the middle, and it's something if you were to take a time capsule of a band, and Tom might have some good input with Pink Floyd because he loves Pink Floyd, what could be a time capsule piece. But if we were to take a time capsule piece, if it would be a song to represent the band in the year, 500 years from now, I would say Unchained. It represents Van Halen as a whole, the party, the atmosphere, all that stuff. If we were to pick an album, the same album, Fair Warning. It's just, off the rails, crazy, like flying at a million miles per second, about to crash into the walls, but never does. That to me symbolizes Van Halen. That's also my favorite album, my favorite song. So, I mean,
Right, I'm going to be honest with you. I right now is like I just feel like when I hear that, I have to run to it.
Yeah.
Like, I just. It's certainly not their most obscure song, or like I feel like shows true fandom, but I just my mix for when I run is what I say is just like pretty slutty. It's like all over the place, and I love that I would have Pixies and in rap and Van Halen, like that would be my Van Halen song that I felt like I could stick in there anywhere and it would just give me a boost.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's no real right or wrong answer. And some people come in, they'll say, well, the first album was their favorite because, I mean, it was groundbreaking. And when I used to do the show that was all focused on Van Halen, I'd have someone even maybe like yourself come on the show and we'd maybe talk about Van Halen for 2 minutes, whatever, and then we'd talk about what's happening in the actors world. But what I would always ask people is, what were your thoughts on how they were so groundbreaking, innovative when it comes to manufacturing? As Tom knows as a guitar player, if it wasn't for Eddie Van Halen, guitars as we know them today, and your husband would know, it would be a different world today without him. So it's very, very cool. Yeah. And here's one from Saul Goodman Twitter. Says, let's ask her about her vision of her Breaking Bad musical idea. The Breaking Bad musical.
Yeah. That Anna and I used to we're pitching that because I know here I'm like, we don't pitch anything, but we were like, let's do a musical because of the writer's strike. I'm like, well, we could do songs. And then, Vince had this whole idea about like this obscure, like the Blue Room. And then we were like, anything happens in there. That's really a writer's dream, right, Tom? That there are no rules once you go to the Blue Room. Because what the world needs is Tom with no rules. That's what we need. We need Tom's imagination to just go wild and no rules. America needs that right now. Everyone thinks it's voting. It's not. We need Tom with no.
Now is the time.
Yeah.
And then and Anna and I would sing and dance, and we really weren't concerned with plot points. We were just wanting to shoot a couple more episodes, and despite the writer's strike, and sing and dance, and that was our plan.
And prior to me getting to the Breaking Bad staff, I remember there was talk about Marie and Skyler doing a road trip to their dad.
Oh yeah.
And there was all this talk about they wanted to get Chris Christopherson to play your dad. And I don't remember the details of what that plot was, but I don't know whether it was the writer's strike or what happened, why that kind of went away. You were aware of that?
Yeah, I knew, and actually, this is going to make me sad a little. I please love Chris Christopherson and nothing against him, but I was like, what about Peter Fonda?
Oh, cool.
And I'd worked with him before, and he was a fan of the show, and I saw him at a party after, and we had a very sweet conversation, but I was like, wouldn't it be great if he'd still get on a motorcycle? He could be that dad. He could be like, Marie and Skyler's dad, who was Peter Pan and never grew up, or, but I wish we could have done that. So get on that, Tom. You can write that now. It'll be a flashback for, I don't know how you tied in to Better Call Saul, but that's figured out in the Blue Room.
It's just like Better Call Saul. We're just going to go back in time and see these Skyler and Marie when they were just sisters before they were married.
That'd be really cool. That would be the fans would love something like that. That's awesome. Just since how that question came from the Saul Goodman Twitter, I want to just take a quick second. The Saul Goodman account, I'll have Sandra Lee share that. Very popular on Twitter. They did something very, very special for us to get us some more followers here on Twitter and, of course, on YouTube, which is the most important to us, so we can communicate with a larger audience. We had one of these shirts that I'm wearing right now, Inside the Gilliverse, with Tom and Eric, up for grabs. And they went an extra mile as well, too, and provided a Saul Goodman little figure as well for persons that followed us and retweeted this and all that kind of good stuff. And we do have a winner. I'd like to acknowledge that person right now. I wrote down the name here, and I know her first name. I know her well, but I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Karina Lyakos. Karina. We know her as Karina in the chat. She won. So she's the winner of the Gilliverse shirt. It looks a little different for ladies. It's more like what Betsy's wearing, kind of like the V cut and the sleeves are a little, it's like a lady shirt, right? So
I styled this myself.
There you go. So we just got to get Karina's address. So Karina, get in touch with us. We'll send you your shirt, and
does not come with the figurine of Bob.
And we'll get the figure. You can get
that, but you like. I mean, can we talk about that for a second? Because I'm also a fan of like how funny that Bob shows up and listen, like Vince knew he wanted Bob for that role, and then. And now it's like to see him do this whole other thing. It's just like, it's so fantastic. It's really fantastic.
It's fun. I don't think I even understood how good of an actor he was when we started.
Bob knew. I don't know if Bob knew. It's so great. And I love him and Banks together.
Yeah.
I really, like, from the very beginning, that was just, but I mean, some of it, it's like, it's such good television, and it's all of it hurts me a little, but mostly I'm happy for you guys. Mostly I'm happy for you. But it just reminds me, I'm like, oh my God, we had it so good. I had it so good. It's really, really fun and fun to see the characters in the before.
Yeah.
You know? Like, as someone who was in the next one that came first, it's thrilling for me. But I remember when Bob joined the cast, and I mean, it feels like a million years ago, but I love that role. And he was so, brought so much, he just brought so much to our cast.
There's one thing I won't say, because you talked about no spoilers, so I don't want to spoil this for you, but let's just say there's going to be a scene that you're going to see between Jonathan Banks and Bob Odenkirk as well too, between Mike and Saul, and they have a conversation, and it's like, Saul can only talk to one person in the world about this conversation, and it's just so, you just feel like, oh, you feel.
What season are you talking?
Season 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't say any more than that, but it's like you're gonna really feel for him. It's like, if you had something very heavy on your chest, and you could only tell Tom, and it's like, I can only tell Tom. I mean, all these choices of people you could tell, right? So I'll leave it.
How do you know I haven't had that situation?
Okay. Well, good for you.
I think that's happened.
Yeah.
Don't you say anything, Tom. Don't you?
And from our T-shirt winner, Karina, she says, do you think Marie had a lot of hidden animosity towards Skyler because she had kids, and Marie maybe felt inadequate for not having any kids? So you have kids in the real world, and you know what that's like as a mom. But
yeah,
and you're very, very close, obviously, to Holly and Walt Jr., having them over and stuff like that. I could see you kind of being a mom to them. But did you have any animosity for Skyler?
It's funny. I don't know if I would. I mean, animosity is an interesting word for that. I mean, jealousy for sure. But then it was also, I think the only way that it was the closest I had to having my own. I mean, Marie. So, but I think it's also, sometimes when, and before I had kids, I would see people do this. Like, some of the people with the most, that want to give the most advice about how to raise kids are people that don't actually have kids. That is like, for sure. Like, because she just knows about everything, and she's smarter than everybody. So, I think she just was like, Skyler and Will, they're gonna just fuck these kids up, and they're gonna be saved because of me and Hank. And then it's, you see like what happens at the end of the show. You're like, yeah, I guess the kids probably would have been better with Hank and Marie.
Well, that's a very good question.
When I try and leave, I mean, that day was a crazy long day, but when I try and leave with Holly, I think it's the right thing to do. It's not, people are like, she steals a baby. I'm like, no, it's like, save this kid. Like, she's trying to save this kid. I mean, she really believes that. And, I don't know. I don't know that she was wrong. I don't know.
No, I think a lot of people present with that option. There'd be a few people that'd be too scared to do it, and obviously too scared of even their own safety, because Skyler at that point has nothing to lose, or everything to lose if you look at it that way. But she could kill you. She could kill you on the spot. Not that she'd shown any signs of that before, but a lot of people put in that situation would grab the baby and run. And just get out of there as fast as you could. And
that was such a turning point, that episode, because and I remember it. I told Anna, I was like, it was so sad because, Marie realizing that, Walt had anything to do with Hank. That's it. Like, that's their relationship. And they had been, we always would describe them as war buddies. Or like, I don't know who these parents are that raised these two women, but clearly there's some stuff there. And I just felt like that was gone. And I always, I think about where they are now, and I always believed that they, and hoped that they would find some way to be there for each other again. But I loved their closeness, and how they even, like Marie would just do the shittiest things, and Skyler would still stand by her. And then, but ultimately it just, they agreed to disagree.
Yeah. True.
That's what we call it now, right? We agree to disagree.
But it was a good relationship, those two characters, and I mean, it's not like you didn't have your problems either. When I say you, I mean, obviously Marie, like battling the shoplifting and, kind of a kleptomaniac a little bit. And, Skyler was judging her.
Understanding. Yes. It's
yeah. And so it goes to show you too, people that have it all, because I mean, Hank and Marie were certainly not, not hurting financially, and just because you have things looking really good from the outside, doesn't mean
that. Where did they get their money? Like, where did they get their money?
Yeah, that's some good money, wasn't it? I mean,
it's a big ass house. We had a really lovely home. Where'd they get their money, Tom? Yeah, I always thought, I'm like, I think that they're not saving anything. I think that Marie spends it all. She spends it all and then some.
Wasn't Hank running?
I think Marie had certain standards.
Yes.
And
yeah. And that, and I always, that even from the pilot, when they, when Props asked me about my wedding ring, what kind of ring Marie would have, and I said, just make sure it's bigger than Skyler's, because that would I don't really care. White gold, yellow gold, whatever, just bigger than Skyler's. Like, by the line.
Great picture over the Schrader fireplace of you in a wedding dress, you alone.
Yes. Yes.
Whose idea was that? When did that come about? Do you remember?
I don't know, but I remember that day when we did the photo shoot, and Dean had his like Boss Hog hat on. Mm-hmm. But the one, and I was like, I said, I think it should be so regal. I want it to be like Marie's just looking down on everybody, like as if they're peasants,
yeah.
And she's like, but it was incredibly fun to do that photo shoot. That was season 2, right? Because I think I was pregnant during the photo shoot. Yeah. Yeah.
It was perfect. Before we end, we're getting close to the end here. Any other projects that you want to talk about? That because you have your movie Claire in Motion.
That's a couple years old.
I know it's a couple years old, but I saw that wasn't it recently out on. I feel like I just saw something promoted about it not that long ago.
Oh, you know what? I feel like just right now a lot of stuff is, yes, I'm sure it's on something. I'm sure it's on, I mean, was it on Showtime? But I'm sure it's probably what Netflix or whatever was on. I should know that. I don't. I actually, and I don't know when this is going to air either. But we did the TCAs for it, so I know it's happening sometime soon.
Oh, the AMC thing.
The AMC project that I did, they have this anthology coming out that was incredibly fun to do, called Soulmates, and it was a fantastic character for me to play, and the whole concept is really fun, and it's set in the future. I kind of wish we could go there now, because unless the pandemic lasts that long, but it's like 15 years into the future. With Brett Goldstein and Will Bridges, I created the show, and I did it get picked up for a second season. I feel like it did, but really, really great, really, really great, and it was incredibly fun to do. And I don't think I've ever played a character like that.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
So fun to do. So I already did it, and now it's going to air. And that was really, really fun to do. I hope I get to go back and do more. But the anthology is fun. Like, and Will worked on Black Mirror, and I thought he was fantastic. He did fantastic work on that show. But it felt really good to be back at AMC too. Like, it's so. It's a little different from other networks.
There you go.
Look at, yeah. I know I should have hang on, I'll show you my AMC tattoo also. Tom over here, AMC over here.
There you go.
But it was, I still remember we all had lunch. Cranston took the cast out for lunch before we started shooting the pilot. And it was very sweet. And AMC already had Mad Men, but it hadn't aired yet. And so it was like writing the book, because it was, scripted was new for the network. And it was really, really fun to be a part of that. And, I remember doing an interview with John Hamm, and I'm like, well, we grew up together. We TV grew up together. And it was just a really, really fun time.
It sounds like
what we do.
Would you ever consider opening your own pie shop? Because I've had your pecan pie and also your key lime pie. Excellent.
I need to make you more. Are those? Well, see, I always bring pecan to the writer's room because that's Vince's favorite. And Banks.
That is my favorite as well.
And that's Banks. So whenever we are doing any sort of dinner or anything together, I always make him a pecan pie. Yeah, I'll make you some. I'll drop some pie after.
I'm talking about. I want you to make money here. I want to.
Store.
Oh yeah, selling pies.
Help me with that business. Yeah, Betsy's Bake Shop.
Perfect.
I like it.
I'll help you.
I want to do that. So can we launch that today here?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll build you a website. That's what I do for a living.
Put your orders in, people.
Put your orders in, and then Tom, you'll drive the pies out to the people.
I will drive the pies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I'll build you the website.
Those pies.
What? Everything you say, it sounds dirty, Tom.
I don't know.
It is. It always is.
Sunshine down, Tom, should just be dirty, Tom. No. You're also one of the sweetest people that I know.
Just a couple.
You really are. He really is. It's so weird.
Time for more questions? Go. Get some fan questions in.
I'll do this real quick. As the fan questions come in, I just want to say thanks to a couple of people as well, too. I want to say thanks to our good friends, Eamon and Matt. They actually stood in for Tom and for, I guess in this case, Betsy tonight. We had some technical issues back with the Kettlemans, and it was a real tough night for me. I took it pretty hard. Some technical issues went wrong, so I wanted to make sure things like that did not happen again. So they helped us greatly. We'll be sending them.
Ms. Emery, did she cause problems? Did she get sassy?
It was
Did she get sassy and pull the plug?
Yeah, well, she was all the nefarious talk. She was pretty upset with it, and I honestly think
we work together, and I want to work with her. Now I'm feeling like I could be like, oh, it'd be so great, and she's just going to be mean to me on set, isn't she?
It was something else, but to be honest with you, it was great. And let me see. Super chat from Shawshank says, "Love this conversation." And for those of you that didn't get a chance to win this cool T-shirt that we gave away, thanks to the Saul Goodman account and ourselves here on the show, you can visit our link that's in the chat. Broadstash, hence the mustache. Broadstash.com. You can pick one up for yourself, men's or women's. And thank you everyone for watching this evening as well too. There you go. Hey, there you go. I can do that thing. I can do like the crazy thing with that as well too. So thank
Love you guys. This was so fun. I'll see you tomorrow. 6? We do 6 tomorrow?
Yeah, to talk about the business.
Now, yes.
I'll start working on your website tonight. We should have it live by about 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, all that good stuff. I think there might have been one other question here. I know we missed a bunch, and I'm just going to scroll up a little tiny bit. This has been absolutely fantastic. Let me see, Daniel, how much would you love to finally have a Saul and Marie scene in Better Call Saul?
That does hurt me, and I still haven't had a scene with Banks. So I say we don't pitch anything. Jonathan and I have been like, what about if Marie comes back? Like, it really, like the fact that I had a scene with Giancarlo during Breaking Bad was like such an amazing treat for me. I had one scene with Jesse, Aaron and I had one scene together. And I remember that day I was like, it's so weird to have you in my house. It feels so weird. I would love to do a scene with Bob, with Ray. I mean, that whole cast, I used to say this, if I was single in dating, I would want Vince to vet any guy I brought around because the writers and the cast, it's like some of the, just incredibly talented, but also like really good people. I always say we didn't have a douchebag in the bunch. And I think that's Better Call Saul too. Like, I love hanging out with those guys. It's really
it's been one of the great joys of my life being able to work with this cast and crew and writers. It's been fantastic. So
Now,
more to say about that.
We did something together, but not on the show. But it's a goal to, work my way around this cast and get my time with them. And then Tom and we'll do something together again.
Well, the energy is very contagious. There's obviously contagions out there that are bad. But in this case, like the energy from cast to crew, from all ranks of the crew to all the actors, writers, it's just, we see it every week. We see it like on social media. We're seeing it here with this little show that we're doing. Everyone's so happy about it. The fans are crazy about it. The cast themselves, and when someone gets killed off on the show, they still watch the show religiously. Patrick Fabian, he was on the show before Tom and I started this, and
best. Isn't he the best?
And going to he's not even involved in any of the scenes, but he's out there in the desert, doing some stuff, taking some photos of Tom and the crew, and it's just so cool to see that.
And it's so funny. I always, I have to tell you, I think it's some of the best work Michael McKean's, and he's so great in everything he does. But oh my God, I loved him on Saul. Like loved him on Saul. And I can't imagine anyone else playing that role. And like, to me as an actor, when you do that, I'm like, I don't even want to think about it. And there are a lot of great actors, but like he was, just perfection. And he's a lovely guy too.
He is.
It's really, it's a fun group to be a part of.
And another guitar player in the Gilliverse as well too, and a great musician.
Who?
Michael McKean.
Michael McKean, Spinal Tap.
Oh my God, that's right, of course.
The handlebar, Derek Smalls, right? He's a guitar player. He was David St. Hubbins, lead guitar, rhythm guitar, and lead singer.
Oh my God, I quote that movie, and if younger people don't know it, I feel like they shouldn't be in the business.
Oh, agreed.
And I push the elevator button and say, well, this one goes to 11. If you don't know what that is, it's a litmus test. There's really nothing for us to talk about. I'm like, it's your wife. It's your fucking wife. Like, if you don't know what that is, I don't know what to say. It's probably one of the first things I asked you, Tom. Yeah. If you went to 11, well, it's one more, isn't it?
It's one more.
It's one more.
I had Harry Shearer on the show here in full Derek Smalls character, just like having Betsy Brandt and Julianne Emery and Jeremy Shermos in character. I had Derek Smalls on the show in character, and I asked him. I said, because people, when I had my hair longer, they'd always say to me, "You look like Derek Smalls from Spinal Tap," and they thought they were offending me, right? Like, they thought that was like a troll comment. I love it, and so I had him on the show in full character, and I said to him, I said, what would you say to the wankers that say I suck as a YouTuber because I look like Derek Smalls? And he thought about it for a second. He goes, "You're wankers," like this. And then he never breaks character, and I almost broke him. I said to him, so I know you're getting older, and I know you're not going to retire for a long time, but if you ever did, you have such a great voice. You might consider maybe a career in voice acting. And he almost broke his character for a second, and he kind of chuckled a little bit, retained his composure, but obviously being the voice of the Simpsons and just about everything out there, wonderful voice. But anyways,
love that.
This has been a fantastic evening. It's been an absolute pleasure. Technology is finally working with me. I feel so much elated tonight, because I'm not just letting down our viewers and our guests here tonight as well too. I want to make sure this is working great for Tom. And
but you know what? The great thing about the pandemic is like we don't sweat shit like that anymore.
I know,
right?
I know.
Just like it's like I hope that we keep that because there are a lot of really important things to worry about. But it's good. It's good of you to make some mistakes so that people know they can make them too. Yeah. So that's basically a service that you just did.
There you go.
I think I hear Betsy post-pandemic yelling at a PA, "My latte is too cold."
Yeah, because you know how I do that. You call this a fucking coffee? Is that what you call this? Where are you from?
Do you know who I am?
Embarrassment.
Yeah. A big thank you as well, too, to our beautiful Leanne. She goes by Ladybug in the chat. She's a good friend of ours. She's one of our moderators as well, helping Sandro. Thank you so much, Leanne. Thank you to all the wonderful guys and girls in the chat tonight. You made a fantastic evening for all of us here.
Such good questions. Really good questions.
So Tom and I are off. Is it the next 2 weeks or just the next week, Tom? Is it 2 weeks?
I think we're just going to pause for Labor Day.
Okay.
And then try to come back the week after that.
Perfect. So we're still working on guests for that. I may be live on my traditional show, Rock Shop Live, in lieu of Gilliverse. So I might be live. That we'll post on social media as well too. But make sure you watch. Now's the perfect time to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the post notifications, because when we do these things go up, you'll get the notification instantly, so you don't miss these things. It's always fun to watch them back, but it's at the same time, it's great to be here live so you can ask these questions. So Betsy, don't go away. We'll say goodbye to you off the air. Everyone have a safe weekend out there. Please be very safe. And the safer you are for you and your family, it's also the safer and faster times all these great actors and writers get to go back to work, which we all want. We're waiting for season 6, and we won't have it until it's safe. So let's all do our part. We talk about doing service. That's your service to work on, all right? For your families and for the fandom of the Gilliverse. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. Betsy, thank you so much. We'll say goodbye to both of you off the air.
Thanks for having me. Love you guys. Love all of you out there. Thank you.
See you soon,
Thank
everyone.
you, Betsy.
Thanks again for tuning into Inside the Gilliverse with Tom and Eric. Be sure to check back each week for more great discussions and interviews with cast and crew from Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul.